Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Hello, Miriam. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you? How's London and life?
Oh, London's really good. We're hanging on in there. It's a beautiful sunny day today, but like the rest of the world, we're all on lockdown, so we can't enjoy the sunshine. But we've just got to give blessings and gratitude to what we all currently have.
Which is beautiful. I think we're all taking some time to reflect and to really feel grateful that we have our homes, we are healthy. Usually I was telling people whenever I used to send emails, we used to send, hope you're well, but now it really has so much more energy to it. I really hope you're well and you're healthy.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. And I think words are really quite, really lay on your heart now in this current time that's affecting everybody on a global level.
Beautiful. Laura, can you tell us more about what you do and about the education part of it? A lot of people have had to kind of move their kids into the virtual realms, and maybe parents are kind of acting like educators at this time. So, which is not a tool that they were used to, and they used to kind of delegate that to schools and to teachers. So, how's that going where you're at, and what do you think are some of the ways that parents can handle this?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So my background, I've had over 30 years, I'm very old, in early childhood education. So I work across on an international level. So I work with nurseries, daycare, schools. I'm an advisor, doing consultancy training and writing. And so going in either new nurseries or new school setups, or supporting heads of schools on leadership, etc. So anything to do with birth to 8, that is the area that interests me. That's my DNA, and that's what I'm known for on an international level, is early childhood. Very interesting question that you ask in terms of parents now. Obviously, everything has shifted for everybody, and parents are obviously having to educate their children at home. And I would say that parents have always educated their children at home in some shape or form. They've always taught their children values, family life. So that is a way of education. And I think we need to differentiate. Family homes are not becoming schools. What's actually happening, it's a degree of home learning. And there are many parents as well probably listening to this who are still working. So they're having to literally balance and spin plates, connect on Zoom calls, support their children with their academic work, etc. So one of the things that I do say is to chill, to relax, and to press the pause button. And parents, don't be hard on yourself thinking that at 11 o'clock your child didn't do maths. That's not going to predict in years to come that they didn't do maths 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, what university they're going to get into at age 18. Lots of conversations that I'm having with parents. My child is going to get behind, Laura. What do you think about this? And I say, well, every child now, the button is paused for them in terms of their face-to-face teaching. And a lot of children are going to be suffering from a mental point of view, their emotions point of view, because we're all adults, we're all finding it very difficult. Sometimes I switch off my laptop at the end of the day, and there's 2 emails that I've started that I haven't finished because my mind's all over the place. But as an adult, I'm able to articulate that. For some children, they're going to regress, and an example of regression would be if your child age 3 was dry during the night, and then all of a sudden they've started to wet themselves as a result of COVID. That's your child's body way of reacting to the situation. So I think it's a very useful time for us to be snuggling in as parents with our young children, having gentle conversations with them, asking them how they're feeling. And I think if you've got older children, teenagers who are able to self-study by themselves throughout the day, check in on them on a regular basis, get into the rhythm and the flow of the day. And with your older ones, maybe come back together for, you know, a mid-morning tea break, come together to have lunch, afternoon tea, and move the goalposts. Nothing's not set in concrete, I would say. You know, really, really important to think about this and think, okay, this is going to work for us Tuesday. It may not work for us on Thursday. And go with the flow. And I think in a few months' time, have conversations with your children's teachers and ask them how they're actually getting on in terms of their academic studies. But your child is not going to be alone in this.
Okay, and what about toddlers? I mean, I think that's the younger ones. I think they also kind of feel the anxiety of their parents, or they kind of respond to the energy, the dynamics of the parents. So what tools can the parents have to kind of know how to deal with their child without getting more frustrated?
I think that's right, because there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of anxiety. And one of the things I would firstly say, in order for parents to support their children effectively, parents have to deal with their own emotions first. So it's the aeroplane analogy, isn't it? If the plane goes down, you put the mask on yourself first before your child or before your mother. And that's right. So it's a level of self-preservation. So parents have to recognize, what I would say, to take that emotional time out. And I say it is important. It's okay to be feeling angry, to be feeling scared. Am I going to get COVID? Am I going to get poorly? What's going to happen to my parents, to my children? All of it's okay to feel those emotions, but I would say feel them for a time being and have that dark cloud over your head, but make sure you take your passport to check out. Really important to do that. And I think, again, because as you so rightly said, children pick up things from a vibrational level. So a parent may not have to say anything verbally, but subconsciously, because your child picks up on your emotional energy, they'll be able to pick that up. So we have to be mindful of that. And parents, I feel, have to, you know, don't be afraid of showing their vulnerabilities, because we're all human beings. I think the worst thing is not to show vulnerabilities, and a child grows up thinking everything is perfect, and the world is not perfect. The world can be quite cruel at times, as we know. So it is important, I say, age, stage and ability appropriate, to have honest conversations with your child. For the younger ones who don't have the vocabulary to say how they're feeling, just snuggle in with them and stroke them and have those time, you know, switch off all, you know, phones, tablets, TV, rock, play music. Laughter's a fantastic thing. Tell jokes, tell stories. I remember when you was a baby and you did this funny thing happened. Get out old photographs of family members and just enjoy that time connecting together as a family.
Beautiful. And are there any other activities that they can, like, together as a family, the parents and kids can do to increase that vulnerability, but also like that awareness of the emotions that are going on and expressing them? So, I mean, you're a great storyteller, but how can they build on that? Like, how can they build on that bond together, doing something together?
I think a really good natural time is, I believe, meal times, using that as a natural thing. So rather than saying to your child, it's 2 o'clock today, let's tell some stories to make us feel better, do it in a natural way. I think out of COVID-19, I would say a natural way to have chats with your children is either going on a walk. In the UK, we're able to have 1 walk a day where you can walk and talk, or a car journey is a nice natural way, and just generally just talk about how they're feeling and recall memories. For instance, my eldest son's 26, who's on the autistic spectrum, but high function. My second son's 22. And my ex-husband found some video clips when they were age 2 and 3. So we were able to share them yesterday and laugh about stories around those particular occasions, or using things like a storyboard where parents, if a child says, you know, train, and a parent is able to either draw a picture or write about it. And I have these conversation cards that you can get, I think, via Amazon. And it just says different open-ended questions. Why is it difficult? Why is it easy? What do you call the items that you're using? And things, and parents may be able to, you know, make up their own open-ended questions that they can use with children to tell those particular stories, or ask their child about something that may have happened to them at school, at nursery or daycare. Do you remember that time? And I believe photographs are a really good starting point, or video clips to get a story starting. Do you remember when? Do you remember this person? And it could be a family member that's passed away now, and you've got your own personal memories of them.
Beautiful. And would you say this is a great time also maybe for values education? You mentioned that parents anyways teach values, but maybe given the interesting times, it's a good space to learn about values, especially inspired by the elders. Maybe you can tell us more about your stories.
Yeah, so the stories that I have, I was very close to my grandmother, and she passed when she was 101. And she was just the most amazing person. And she told me a story. When she was 101, my parents are from St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and probably every year myself and my children used to visit her around the time of her birthday. And her last birthday of 101, she told a story in front of my sons and her friends that when I was little, probably about 3, I don't remember the story, that I'm one of 6, and every Sunday she used to come and visit us with treats, with fruit, with sweets and snacks. And I'd be the only one out of my siblings standing at the window, getting super excited, saying, we called my grandmother Mama. Mama's coming, and tapping my feet and everything. And I just thought that story. And then 3 months after that, she died, and I was just so grief-stricken because I was so close to her. And I remember that story as a memory, and then it made me write my children's books called Jojo and Gran Gran. And as a result of those children's books, then it's now a 44 episode children's series on BBC in the UK. Hopefully, God willing, it will be shown on an international level. But this is one of the books. This is All in the Week, which is loosely about that, you know, grandmother's coming on a Sunday. And it's a very lovely story, and everybody. And what's been interesting, because the first episode went out on the first week that we had lockdown in the UK, and it's been so well received because so many children can't see their grandparents. It's a light story, and at the end of every episode, Jojo, the little girl, says, Gran Gran, I love you, and Gran Gran says, I love you, Jojo. And we all need those lovely, warm stories that are violent free, you know, that tells the real meaning of what family means. And every single family, no matter what they're going through, at the root of that is love.
Beautiful, beautiful. And also building that connection between the generations. And
absolutely, it's very multi-generational. As many families, whatever country you live in the world, there's always so much respect for grandparents, valuing them, listening to their stories. And I say that now on many interviews that I do, really important if you know, if you don't currently live with your grandparents, telephone them, ask them to tell you stories, because they've got so much of that oral history. You know, buy a notebook, a journal, and write down what they're telling you, because, you know, in a few years' time, that's all going to go, and that's part of your own history, them, you know, telling you their stories, and you'll be fascinated in what they're telling you about their childhood. Their childhood was completely different to our childhood.
Yes, and I mean we're all here on lockdown. We have time. We have the communication methods. You know, whether it's a Zoom call like we're doing or just a phone call. I think it's a great time to start this documentation process. And if enough people do it, we might have resources of all the stories that and the valuable information that they're sharing.
Exactly, and one of the things I do say, what's really important, is around having transitional objects as being really, really important. And the work that I do in daycare, I always say to teachers, it's important that children have something important that belongs to them. It could be, you know, a blankie, a photograph of their parents when they're first starting to help with the settling in. So one of the things that I always say is, you know, for instance, this bangle, my grandmother gave it to me. I've got other things, I've got photographs. I've got a letter that she wrote to my son where she bought him a ring for his birthday. My gran was a dressmaker. She crocheted things. I've got things that she's made. So, you know, get a box. I bought a lovely box, sort of like as a suitcase. If you can't get one, use an old shoe box or any sort form of basket. Collate all of those special memories. It may not be of a grandparent. It could be of, you know, sometimes some families are separated, either the mum or dad for whatever reason, a family member, and create your own box of your family memories. And inside that will be, you know, history in itself, and use that as a talking point. Why did you choose that particular photograph? What memory is in that? And as well as that, you're increasing, you know, that there's learning in there, because it's sharing information about family. And for the younger children, it's increasing their vocabulary, their communication and language skills, the ability to listen and to share without actually using screens.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Laura. This information is so valuable, especially now we're going to get into Ramadan here. So that's going to be even more. Already we're in lockdown, but you know, everything is going to slow down some more. So I think it's an important tool for people to take it home. And everywhere around the world, people are in lockdown and they're wondering how can we engage our kids more. So I hope it really helps them. And I really hope to see Jojo and Granny.
Yeah, gran.
Grand soon in Dubai TVs and all the channels around the world, or maybe even live streaming on Netflix or something.
Yeah, hopefully we'll pray for that. And if anybody wants to get in contact with me, my website is www.laurahenryconsultancy.com, and the email is laura@laurahenryconsultancy.com, and I am on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. I am reaching out because I'm saying if anybody wants, my direct message and private messages are always opened. If any parents or educators have any questions, please feel free to contact me, because I'm known as the Queen of Sharing. So please feel free to do that.
Yes, and I'm going to tag your Instagram handles too on the video. Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. Hope you're well. Thank you
for inviting me, and you keep on sharing the stories and the interviews, and stay safe and blessed, and hopefully we'll see each other face to face very soon again.
Yes, inshallah. Send my regards to the family and everyone also.
Yeah, and likewise as well. Take care. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.